Absolutely. I mean, there's a statement to say that the Prime Minister's visit to Africa is, of course, to challenge or rather rival China's big influence in Africa. How true is that?
Well, of course, Prime Minister's visit to Africa has nothing to do with China. His main objective is include to promote a personal relationship with the African leaders and also to promote Japanese business activities, including investment, and also to promote implementation of development assistance, which was promised during TICAD 5, the 5th Tokyo International Conference on African Development, which we hosted in June last year.
Yeah. Now, as the ambassador of Japan to South Africa, how would you describe the relationship between Japan and South Africa at the moment?
We have a very close relationship. Already more than 110 Japanese companies are active in South Africa. Engaging in mining, manufacturing, and infrastructure building. And they are contributing to job creation, the skill transfer, human resources development.
Yeah. And we were just talking about stories surrounding South Sudan and everything that is happening in South Sudan there in terms of the protests and the violence that's erupting there. To what extent will Japan be involved, of course, in the peacekeeping debates, the discourse around South Sudan?
We have a very great concern over the situation in South Sudan. And as you may be aware, Japan has its contingents in the peacekeeping UN peacekeeping operation in South Sudan. And more recently, when the Prime Minister visited Ethiopia, he delivered a policy speech on Africa-Japan relationship. And in that, he mentioned that Japan has decided to provide new money, $25 million for this stabilization of that region.
Yeah. And of course, Japan has to benefit in some way in this relationship, not just the African continent. And with that said, how will they then benefit from the relationship that they currently have with Africa and its countries?
Yes, of course, the mineral and other resources in the African region is very important to the Japanese business activities. And certainly we have we want to secure the stable supply of these mineral resources. Yeah. But at the same time, we want to contribute to the development of African countries through the skill transfer, the human resources development, job creation, and so on. So it is mutually beneficial, I believe.
But Ambassador, within the African region, we do understand that the Prime Minister specifically chose to visit Mozambique, to visit Senegal, and ended his tour with Ethiopia. Do you have any information as to why he chose those three specific countries?
Well, actually, he visited Côte d'Ivoire rather than Senegal.
Okay.
But of course, Côte d'Ivoire is one of the central countries of West Africa. And in fact, in Côte d'Ivoire, he met not just the president of that country, but also the 11 leaders of West Africa ECOWAS countries to promote relationship with these West African countries. Yeah. And Mozambique, of course, is endowed with the rich mineral resources, coal and natural gas, which is, of course, very important to Japanese businesses. And Ethiopia, of course, you can say in a way, a capital of Africa because of the presence of African Union. And so I think that was a very good choice. But from my perspective, of course, I want to see the visit of Prime Minister Abes soon, in the near future. Prime Minister himself said in the press conference in Ethiopia that he wishes to come back to Africa soon.
Yeah. And we hope that he does as well. With regards to just civil issues in Africa, we do know that child and women abuse has been rife in South Africa. We do know that other countries in Africa, such as South Sudan, has seen children and mothers and women fleeing for refuge. What is the Prime Minister's plan in assisting with that regard?
Yes. Well, actually, the Prime Minister has a very strong interest in the mobilizing women in Japanese society. And in that regard, he also has a very strong interest in empowering women in Africa. In fact, in his policy speech, he said that I I wish to quote, when African women shine, Africa will most certainly be truly radiant. So he has many plans to empower women in Africa, for instance, spread education to the women, the educating nurses, midwives, and so on.
Yeah. All right, Ambassador, before we let you go, just moving forward then, what can we expect from Prime Minister Shinzo Abes? More involvement in Africa? Any donations, any pledges, any aid assistances that we can expect in future?
At TICAD 5, Tokyo International Conference on African Development last year, we promised to spend 32 billion US dollars in the next 5 years in the area such as the infrastructure building, human resources development, and so on. Yeah. One of the elements of that package is the spreading the Japanese managerial concept called Kaizen to African countries. Yeah. And in fact, we have a plan to build the Human Resources Development Center in cooperation with Sudan University of Technology.
Absolutely. Well, Ambassador, thank you so much for your time. Ambassador of Japan to South Africa, His Excellency Mr. Yutaka Yoshizawa, thank you so much for joining us on AIM News.